Okay. All right, welcome to the Eco Story session of the SF Green Film Festival. My name is Quinn Costello with SF Indie Fest, and really excited to talk to some of the filmmakers today. Maybe we can just kind of go around real quick and everybody can just introduce themselves and what film they're with, and then we'll get started. Telma, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Telma Huld Johannesdóttir, and my film is called Icelandic People Believe in Elves.
Cool. Victor?
My name is Victor Björnström, and I have, together with Kajsa Mette, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today, but we have made a film called Tracks that is screening on the festival.
Thank you. And Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily Upsack, and my film is named Silt, and it's a story that was shot here in the southwestern part of the United States.
Well, thank you very much. So Telma, let's start with you. Can you kind of talk a little bit about your background and how it kind of informed your decision to go ahead and make this movie about Icelandic elves?
Yeah, so I'm an actress. Well, that's what I studied at school, at least, and what I've done for the past few years. And I've always been interested in telling my own story somehow. And I decided to do it this past year. Decided to stop waiting for someone to give me permission to go ahead and do it. And I wrote this short film based off of an experience I had when I was working in this coffee place in downtown Reykjavik, which had like a steady stream of tourists come through it. And most of them used to ask me whether it's true that 50% of Icelandic people say they believe in elves. And that's kind of where, no, that's not kind of, that's exactly where my script is rooted, is in that story. Because it didn't really matter to them what I said. It was like this trope. It was like this, I was supposed to be like this princess in Disney World, like an Icelandic person that believes in elves. But I kept trying to explain what at least it means to me and a lot of other Icelandic people I know, and that didn't really come across. So that's where I got the idea to tell this story about this tourist that comes to Iceland, finds this kind of funny, and then he goes on a little trip in the forests and he kind of understands.
And can you talk a little bit about like the casting process and how you met the tourist in the film?
Right, so his name is Mauricio Villevisar, and he is a friend of mine here in Iceland. He's from the Dominican Republic. He moved to Iceland a few years ago, and he's been doing stand-up comedy here, and he's fantastic. Like he's so on point with all of his like timings and everything. And I used to work in casting for quite a bit. So through that, I kind of got him into some roles, and because I believed that he could act, and it turned out it was very true. And then when I asked him if he would possibly be willing to do a freebie for this short, he was very happy to. So yeah, it was like we're friends, and he's awesome.
And do you plan to kind of continue making autobiographical films, or was this a good experience for you, or do you want to go into something that isn't so closely related to your own lived experience?
Yes, I would. I do think what I'm learning as I'm writing more and creating more is that what works for me is when I'm personal, but that doesn't necessarily translate to always being about my life. This was just a very convenient way, like, you know, it was the cafe that I actually used to work at, so I got to shoot there for free, and it's a forest, so I didn't ask anyone permission, and we shot there for free. You know, it was this type of film. I just wanted to make it, and it was a very much a group effort, and in that understanding, it was easier to just go very close to home. But I would love to branch out and make movies that are a bit more. I have a few in the works now, too. One leans very much into the fantasy and away from real life, and the other one is more. It's a horror film, but about the most common enemy to women, like male anger. So that is, the talking point is way more general, but it always comes from a very personal beginning, which has been working for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your film with the SF Green Film Festival. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So Victor, can you kind of talk a little bit about some of the challenges of filming in these extreme remote conditions that you're in, and also just how you kind of came to want to tell this this really unique story about living in the Arctic Circle?
Well, we can start with how it all started. We've been growing up here in the Arctic Circle in a town called Kiruna, and winter is a huge part of people's life here, and that's the reason why we keep living here, because we love the winter. And we have always been worried about the climate change and how it affects us on the planet, but it has been, feeling quite distant to us, because we don't have any wildfires basically up here, and it's cold, and everyone is talking about the heat waves and stuff. So, but we were at this lecture a few years back where there was a scientist from Abisko, which is just nearby. We talked about what already has happened in the Arctic about in climate change, and we have followed the debate globally, but not really we didn't really have the perspective in the local communities and what happened here. And when he presented this statistics of what already has happened and what is most likely will happen in the future, we were quite shocked, and we were like, okay, this winter thing is not going to be, it won't be the same for our children. It won't be the same in 10 years, and and it's going very fast. And so we thought that nobody has actually talked about this on a local level, not in the terms of, has been some stories about reindeer herders, but not really informative, more like, it's happening. But we thought we could tell the story from our perspective as snowboarders living here, and how it would affect us who has like regular sports interest, and we just love the winter, and we think that other people who loves the winter could relate to it. So not making like a regular snowboard movie, because we haven't been doing that before, but rather making quite like emotional story about the winter and how we will be affected. So I don't know. And about your second question about how it is like filming in the Arctic, it's I think I have some long-term issues with my hands now, after being out too much in filming. Since I started filming more regularly, it's like it's filming is not meant to be done when it's like -20 or 30 degrees outside. So it's like it's challenging also with the batteries, and sometimes the drone batteries already run out before you reach the spot. So it's very challenging, and it's also very challenging with weather. So you cannot plan. It's really changing weather. I believe it's the same in Iceland, where it's we're quite close to the ocean. We're like only kilometers from the ocean, the Swedish border where we live. It's like very, very near to the Atlantic Sea. So it's really happening very quick weather changes in weather. So that's also a big challenge to You cannot just
And-
you cannot just say that this week we will shoot this shot, because it's not that's not possible to plan like that.
And can you kind of talk to me a little bit about what it was like in the edit room when you were figuring out how to structure the film, and how you arrived at that notion of using the different seasons to kind of lay out the story?
I think we wanted to. I think we didn't want to open up a very depressing way. We wanted to get people motivated about winter, and feel that, okay, I want winter because this is so fun. So we started by an aspect of winter, of climate change, that actually is giving us more snow, because that is what's happening right now. We will have more snow, and we have already set a few snow records around here in recent years, because we have a lot more snow now, but we also have a lot more rain. But that wasn't the first part to tell. We started with this snow part, and people maybe get motivated, and we wanted to start like that to keep the energy up, and then just go. Also, we had like this graph that we drew on a whiteboard in the office, where we like, this was a smiley, happy smiley face and sad smiley face, and how we would plan to go between all the time. And that was like that's I think it's showing off quite well in the movie. And if you are touched by it, you will probably feel it. So it's like yeah. And it was also really hard to get to know how informative you could get, because we have so much information that we didn't share, but we still wanted it to be quite easy to know, like easy to take in. So it's like it's a lot more to tell about the climate change in the Arctic. So,
and I guess what role do you see of? I mean, it was struck me that the subject of the film is kind of existentially very dire, but it's a really beautiful film, and I was just kind of wondering what you see as a filmmaker, the role of beauty is, and kind of telling these stories to kind of try to make people care about the climate crisis.
Well, I think so, but I think we need only to get a bit emotionally touched to actually, we can care about it. But it has been the same thing for me and Kaisa as well, when we have been, climate change has kind of been the thing that you see on the news, like everything else, bad things that may happen somewhere else, or in the future. You cannot, you can think it, but you cannot really feel it until you actually something close that's happening to you. And that was maybe our point, to make a beautiful film about showing this is winter, and this is what we're gambling with. This is the thing that we are feeling, and we may lose it. So I think that's why we made it like that, to show, basically what we're gambling with here, with climate change in the local level, and if you're a winter lover, or
Well, thank you so much for being a part of the film festival.
Thank you.
And Emily, so it's rare to see a narrative film that centers on water conservation, and I was wondering if you can kind of talk about how you came to that idea, and what was it about this this project that really kind of got you excited to make a film?
Yeah, so I grew up in Colorado. I was born in California, but we moved here when I was quite young, and I live and have grown up about an hour from the headwaters of the Colorado River. And when I was in my 20s, I'm in my 40s now, I saw a documentary that the Colorado no longer reaches the sea. So its natural cycle is broken, and that's been the case for a number of decades now. And I am an avid river rafter as well. So I've spent a lot of time on tributaries to the Colorado River, and also rafting through the Grand Canyon. So this short is actually a proof of concept for a narrative feature that centers on a Navajo botanist who in the near future is sent to the Grand Canyon down the Colorado River with a group of developers, because Glen Canyon Dam and has been shuttered. And Lake Mead, actually I like to say Reservoir Mead and Reservoir Powell because they're not really lakes, they're reservoirs,
Yeah.
are now empty. So it's this sort of near future situation, which we actually, I mean, depending on when I get the film made, it could be a neo-realist film, but it's right now the feature is centered on this idea that in the future we won't have these reservoirs anymore for power or for water. And currently the Colorado still does not reach the ocean. There have been a couple of initiatives to release water from different dams in order for it to restore its natural habitat. So the short is the story of a Navajo botanist after the death of a beloved aunt who's driving home to California. And she's remembering a trip that they took together when she was young, traversing the Colorado River, but also remembering where her love of plants has come from. So I've worked a little bit in documentary and in experimental film, but I feel like narrative, there's a space in narrative in which you can tell a story and you can potentially affect change without being too on the nose or trying to, be advertorial about a social issue. So, this film for me is really just impressionistic, and the lead character is Navajo. She's an actress who lives in New Mexico. Her name's Morningstar Angeline. And we have two non-actors, and the non-actor who plays the aunt character, I wrote all of her lines in English. They're all Navajo origin, but the aunt character, she just started to deliver her lines in the Navajo language. So I really like that about the film as well, is that it's a bilingual film, and the Navajo have the largest reservation in the Southwest, and a lot of their water rights within the Colorado River have not been honored, and 50% of the Navajo Nation don't actually have running water. So water in the Southwest is a serious issue, and we have Phoenix, which is the largest or the fastest growing large city in America right now. Las Vegas, Los Angeles actually accounts for 50% of the Colorado River water usage. So and Denver, which is my closest city, is growing rapidly as well. So the New York Times has been reporting more and more about the Colorado River, and the Guardian and a few, the Atlantic, but it needs more attention because we could very, very, very easily be in a situation shortly where we don't have water or power. So
can you tell me a little bit more about your collaboration with the lead actress and how you found her and how you were kind of communicating with her about your ideas with the film and what she was bringing to it in that respect?
Yes, so I work at the University of Colorado Boulder in the film department, and one of my colleagues had casted Lily Gladstone in a film. So I approached her, but she had just taken on this film, Martin Scorsese's new film, Killer of the Flower Moon, I think. So yeah. She recommended Morningstar to me. I reached out to Morningstar, and we started to have a dialogue about the film. She read the script, and then I met her in person in New Mexico. And she really liked the simplicity of the script. And something that was interesting that she said to me was that she felt like when exploring the identity of a certain group, or of, in her case, of Native peoples, she really feels like that's the territory of Native or Indigenous directors to do that exploration. But when you're exploring a topic and you are highlighting a Native actor or a Native character, then that story could be told by anyone. And I think that's a really important distinction, because if we limit the ability for people to tell stories only from a certain demographic, then a lot of stories won't get told. And also, I think we would limit Native actors to only be able to participate in stories about their identity instead of like opening the field for Native actors to be in all different types of films, you know. So she, her endorsement of the short, particularly because I'm non-Native and it's there are 3 Native characters in it, was really helpful. And she's a filmmaker herself. We're premiering, we have the New Mexico premiere in Santa Fe shortly, and I believe that we're in the same shorts package with a short film that she made as well. So just having dialogue with her as a filmmaker as well as an actor was really useful to the process.
And in terms of this being kind of a proof of concept, what do you think, like, what have you taken from it? Is it, I assume when you say proof of concept, you're proving the concept to funders and other kinds of folks, but can you kind of just talk about creatively what you took from this and what you would hope to bring to, a larger feature or the kind of next, step, the next iteration of this piece?
Well, making a feature takes such a long time that I really needed to flex the directing muscles and to explore the character, the main character. I teach screenwriting at the university, and one thing that I've really found is that once you get to know the characters, the story unfolds more easily. So this was also about me just getting to know the main character and understanding her backstory. So sometimes a proof of concept can be a scene that'll be in the feature, whereas this is the backstory or a part of the backstory of the main character. So also something we did with this film is that we shot it in 2 parts. So in May of last year, my producer and I drove from Albuquerque to Mexicali, to the Colorado River Delta in Mexico, and we shot all of the B-roll on that trip. And then in August, we went to Gallup, New Mexico with the crew and the actors, and we shot the scenes. And then we cut it together, and through color correction, it's really seamless. And now for the feature, when I have everything in place, I'm hoping that this coming May, we will actually shoot the first part of the feature. So I'm going to use the same methodology because we will be shooting on the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon, and it will actually be the first narrative film to be shot on the Colorado River. There's been a lot of documentaries, but it'll be the first story to be shot there. So my idea is to shoot it in 2 parts similarly, where the first we go down with the cinematographer and some key crew, maybe some stunt people, and shoot all of the B-roll, some of the action sequences, really like figure out the locations and the blocking, and then return with the actors and shoot the scenes. So I'm finding I'm really interested in this idea of ethnofiction and sort of this combination of nonfiction and fiction together. And I think that like through making this short, I've figured out a methodology for myself where I can blend and blur the lines between the 2.
Well, it's really interesting. I can't wait to see what you do next. I can't wait to see what all of you do next. Hope you return to the SF Indie Fest in one of its different incarnations. And thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Quinn. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.